Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Being that it is now 6 p.m., I'll call to order the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Monday, June 19th, 2017. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'm going to entertain a motion for the Board of Selectmen to go into executive session pursuant to Purpose 1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual.
So moved.
Second.
Right? And we will be coming back into open session, so I'm going to pull the board. Selectman Bohr?
Yes.
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Dogevich?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
And myself, yes. We are now back in regular session. First item on the agenda is approval of the regular session meeting minutes from Monday, May 22nd, 2017.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to accept the meeting of executive session for Monday, May 22nd, 2017.
Second. Sorry. That's good.
And we approving them for release and non-release.
Yeah.
All right. Then Courtney, if you want to pull the board.
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Ford?
Yes.
Selectman Degnan?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Chairman Jolda?
Yes. The next item is regular session, since we just did executive session meeting minutes from Monday, May 22nd, 2017.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to accept the regular session minutes for Monday, May 22nd, 2017, and give him the gavel back there to quiet him down, if you would, please.
Second.
Right. Courtney, any other discussion? If not, Courtney, will you pull the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Ford?
Yes.
Selectman Degnan?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Chairman Jolda?
Yes. All right. Next item on the agenda is the swearing-in ceremony for Deputy Chief Michael Shaw.
Please don't trip.
Everybody get together, please. Set. Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as Deputy Chief of the Webster Fire Department according to
Police department.
Police department.
We almost got a promotion.
Agreeable to the town bylaws and the laws of the Commonwealth of Connecticut. I do. Congratulations.
Well, I'll say a few words to start with. You know, I've been here about 6 months now, and during those 6 months, I've gotten to know what was Lieutenant Shaw and now Deputy Chief Shaw pretty well, and I've been very impressed with his I want to say, it's hard to put in words, but his desire to make Webster the best place it can be. Someone who's dedicated his professional life so far to the community, and I think he's going to do everything in his powers to continue to make Webster a better and a safer place for all town residents. And I've been especially impressed with his work as we've dealt with the opioid task force. He's been leading the charge on that, and has been making significant progress and helping people to help themselves to become safer and make our community a better place to live. So Mike, thank you, and no, this was actually a more involved process than we all thought it was going to be originally, and I thank you for sticking with me, and I'm looking forward to working with you in the future, and I think we're going to be able to do great things.
Excellent. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chief, did you have anything you wanted to add? Or-
If I could, Mr. Chairman. You've heard me say this before. We have some officers that come along, and they come along as a part-time. Michael joined us in 1996 as a part-time officer. He worked 9 months and then went to the full-time academy. He joined us in 1997, and we knew instinctively right away that he was going to be somebody special. That's, you know, he had everything that it took. He learned. He listened to the older officers as he came up through the ranks, and he rose quickly. He went into the Detective Bureau pretty quickly. went into, took the exam, made sergeant fairly quickly. He was promoted to lieutenant and now deputy chief. I've been very vocal that I wanted this man as my right-hand man, well-respected, as you can see, by the department members and the community as well. I couldn't be happier that this day has come, so I thank you. Michael, if you would.
Thank you very much for those kind words, Mr. Wilson and Chief. I'll be brief because I know you have a full agenda, but I want to thank everybody that took the time out to come in to show their support. It means a lot to me. I wouldn't be here today without people behind me as well as my family. That's a huge thing, and I've always preached that to the men and women I work with. Family is huge. Not just blood, but also the family that we work with. And you know, in our profession right now, we face a lot of challenging times, not just locally, but nationwide. But I've always said it. I've said it for the last 20 years. I can't believe it's been 20 years. But we have the best department, I think, in Central Mass. And I don't just say that. I say that from experience, from working with departments across this county and across the state. I'm excited to see where this goes. I look forward to it. You know, my time is, you know, the light is somewhat at the end of the tunnel. It's not super bright, but I can kind of see a little bit. And I look forward to seeing where it goes at the end. And I'm excited to be here. I'm very happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just add that you not only make the police department Webster proud, but you make the town of Webster proud, Mike, so congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Anything else?
And congratulations.
Anything else from any of the board members?
I thought maybe you
No?
wanted, if you want, you can call him. Back on it. Shake his hand.
Very.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Next item on the agenda is the library status update.
So,
What do we want to,
yeah, we have a presentation, so this is going to take just a second to
Oh,
warm
sure.
up, but I'd like to thank Courtney and Amanda for their hard work. So this is something that we want to do every meeting going forward, is to have a department or two give you kind of more of an in-depth look at the department, look at ways that they're trying to improve and perform better. So I picked on Amanda to be the first one. I think she is doing a great job, and I think we'll be able to show that today in the presentation. If it turns on. No, there we go. Okay. So this is actually, I don't know if you've heard of CompStat, but it was a program developed in the New York City Police Department where they would look deeply into statistics and trends in crime analysis, and they were from that able to better serve the public and solve crimes and prevent crimes. The city of Baltimore took this to a citywide approach, and I worked with this department in Somerville that we call the Summer Step that did this for each department. So it's kind of something along those lines that we're going to look at and look deep into the different statistics of the department. So first we're going to talk about the personnel, then we'll look at key performance metrics, we'll look at the Friends of the Library fundraising and a brief update on the project, and then some of the other ongoing items that are currently going on at the library. So first we have Amanda's the library director. Peter, who's the adult services, he kind of serves as the backup for Amanda when she's not in. Then we have Andrew in youth services, Evan, Leah, and Linda. So to run a town library the size of ours, this is actually kind of a very small, slim staff. We're excited that they're able to get so much done within the department with the staffing they have now. When we move into the bigger building, the state, as part of the grant requirements, said you have to be able to run the building with this existing number of staff. So we don't have any immediate plans to expand staff, despite Amanda's pleadings, but we, of course, can look into that in the future. But the new library will be able to run on the existing staff. If you look at the next slide, this is our adult circulation. This is, the blue is FY15 and the green's FY16. The FY17 data is obviously not completed the year yet, and it will be a few more months before that's able to be compared to the previous years. But you can see every year FY16 had more circulation than any of the other years. This allows us to get more funding from the state. Part of our state aid is based on how much circulation there is, and every year of the past 3 years we've gotten additional state aid. If you look, the e-audio and e-books are kind of new and developing. If you look at these over the past 5 years, these have dramatically grown. I don't know if any of you have used Overdrive, but if you have a commute at all, it works great. I get to listen to books all the time, and it works out really well. Also, the videos has a big spike in circulation. Courtney said her kids check out Nemo a lot, so maybe that's what's going on, but I'm not sure. Our next slide is the children's circulation. Again, if you look at FY15, all of the numbers grew in FY16, so I think that's goes to credit the library that they're making things available. They're getting books that people are interested in, and they're available for people when they want them. So this slide compares the total circulation versus some of our neighboring communities. You'll notice that we're a little bit on the smaller side as far as circulation goes, but I think a lot of that has to do with the size of the library that we had. So these numbers were all from when the Chester Library was still up and running. So if you notice, the Webster Library only had 6,000 square feet. The next smallest one was Dudley with 16,000 square feet, so a little more than double the size of it. So I think there's a correlation between the number of books that were checked out and the number and the size of the library. So as the new library opens, and I think we'll have more opportunities to have more books in our collection and also have more books go out in circulation. Amanda, I forgot, what's the size of the new library going to be?
Footnote at the bottom.
20,000.
That's going to be about 20,000 square feet. So, thanks for writing that on there. This is just another example of good work they're doing. This is interlibrary loans. So these are books that other libraries have requested from us. I think this just goes on to say that we have books in our collection that people want. They do a good job of selecting things that people are interested in reading. This next slide is programs held by the library. If you see that, again, we increase those every in all three categories from 15 to 16. We also had, the next slide, we have number of people attending those programs. So again, they increase in all of them. The adult attendance, just a little bit, but Amanda and I discussed a few of those things. Some of the adult attendance included just one-on-one library help on the computer, so you can help introduce seniors or people who are not computer friendly. They can learn and get updated on computers. Let's see. Here we have number of registered borrowers. So this is basically people have library cards out. The system purges it every year if you haven't used it in the last 4 years. So this is actually a legitimate number. It's not like people have library cards but never use them. This is actually people using them. We have computer usage. Again, this has grown every year over the past 2 years. We expect it to continue to grow, especially, I mean, there's sometimes people that come right outside the library door to get the Wi-Fi, and it's like, I don't know if that really counts, but it is included in those numbers. This is our annual database usage. These are just programs that either the state provides as databases or part of our regional network, CWMARS. One of the ones that I just wanted to point out is I think it's Mango Languages, or is it Mango Languages? Mango. So it's a free service. It's kind of like Rosetta Stone through the library. I tried to learn French for a couple months, but I didn't get very far. So
Polish in this town would help you well.
yeah, Polish maybe. We'll try it out. So next, this is an update on the Friends of Library fundraising. As you can see, there's some of these have been announced in the public. The generous donation by the Fells family, the Bank Hometown with their $250,000, a few others on here. If you see, total donations to date is about 1.4 million. If we look at the library, the total cost is about $12 million. The state Massachusetts Building Library Committee is giving the grant about 7.5 million, and then with the this donation from the Friends, the taxpayers in Webster are going to be picking up about 3.3 million. So, next up, a few updates on the projects. This upcoming week, they're going to be pouring the concrete for the second floor at the library. The exterior metal studs will also be going up soon. Courtney and I, we've had to listen to them drill all the iron in, so we're excited that that's eventually moving on and we're going to move to the next phase. And again, the entire project's scheduled to be completed next April. Today begins the first day of the Webster Summer Reading Program. The theme is to build a better world. So this program is not just for children, it's for adults as well. So if you read a book, you can get points and enter into a raffle, and you can get gift cards or other prizes that are available. So this will be out on our website and on the Facebook page. We also have we're putting in one of the vacant windows a display to help people know that the Webster Library Summer Reading Program is starting. And then just a few events. We have the Children's Animal Adventures coming up next Monday. Next Monday. And then I think Amanda is going to personally teach the Minecraft Madness class in July. Also, we have the Boys and Girls Club book cruise that's going to be part of the Webster Police Department and the Webster Lake Association, and that'll be in August. So that's all the slides we have. So is there any questions from the board?
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, and again, I want to thank Courtney and Amanda for putting it all together. They said I had to be the one to talk about it all, but they were more than willing to prepare the slides. So.
Actually, just one question for Amanda. Given the tripling of the size of the library, does that mean we're going to start borrowing more books? How do we get enough books to fill all the shelves we'll have? Sure, if you don't mind. Or maybe that's not a problem.
Hi, Amanda Gren, your library director. When we moved into our temporary space here at the auditorium, we had to put quite a few books into storage. A lot of our nonfiction and oversized, also our whole historical collection. So I think a lot of people will be coming in, will be doing a lot more circulation, whether it's borrowing books or we might have a little bit of space, which is really good because we need that. In the old library, every item that we had come in, we would have to get rid of an item just because we didn't have the space. So I'm really excited about that.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Doug. Great job.
Right, moving along. I'd like to invite Doran Kraus and Bill Burke up for water sewer abatements.
Good evening. Good evening. This billing quarter, we were fortunate we only received 2 abatement requests. The first one was for 40 Union Street. After the reading that we took on April 24th, we routinely evaluate high usage. And at this property, we left a note on the property, but it was never received by the owner. When the bills went out, the owner called, we investigated it, and he found an intermittent leaking toilet that substantially raised his water bill. The water did pass through the meter. It did flow into the sewer. It was not repaired by a plumber, but by his own apartment operation company. It's a multifamily dwelling, and Superintendent Burke and I have both reviewed it, and we are recommending denial of this abatement request.
Any questions from the board?
And Doran, just to make it clear, this is the Ralt one?
I'm
What's
sorry.
the name on this abatement?
The realty company.
The realty company, yeah.
You know, realty.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's for the address 40 Union Street.
Yep.
And that recommendation is consistent, if what I remember from past, where a leak might be undiscovered until too late by an owner, but it's because they're using the water and it's passing through the system.
Exactly right.
There's nothing we can really do for that.
Yep.
I guess I'd make a motion to agree on the denial.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, Courtney, will you pull the board?
Selectman Miller.
Yes.
Selectman Ford.
Yes.
Selectman Degevich.
Yes.
Selectman Becker.
Yes.
Chairman Colvin.
Yes.
The second abatement request is for a six-family income property located at 28 Hill Street. Once again, we left the door tag upon evaluation of the readings. The message did not get to the property owner, and once again, after they received the bill, they called us. They had a very high water usage, almost 3 times of what the historical average had been. We went out, we responded, we investigated the property and found water use to be continuing, even though the owner felt that all faucets and taps in the facility were off. On our water meters, we have a little device called the flow finder, and if there's any water passing through the meter, this tiny dial continues to turn. And while we were there, we noticed that it was continuing to turn. The owner felt that the meter might be bad, causing all of this, so we went out and we checked the meter, and we did find the meter to be reading 3.5% higher than what the American Water Works Association recommends. We did replace the meter, however, the water use still continued after the new meter was in place. The owner commented about disgruntled tenants and possible eviction. It's my suspicion, although we have no fact that somebody was just letting the faucet run. As far as the high usage is concerned, Superintendent Burke and I are recommending denial. However, on the 3.5% high usage, we are recommending that the water and sewer charges be abated back for 1 year. I was reluctant to go back further than that because we don't know when this meter started acting up. The total of the water and sewer abatement would be $348.12 for that 3.5% overcharge.
Mr. Chairman, I'd go along with the recommendation for the water and sewer abatements as recommended by both the Water and Sewer Commission, totaling $348.12.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question. This was the second of 2 where the owner did not get the notice. Do we send the notice to the owner's property if they don't live there and perhaps leave notice?
Our general practice is to hang a door tag on it, and that reaches the vast majority of them. We generally don't mail them out because of the time delay in getting it. After we have done the meter reading, we have 7 days to evaluate that and then send the bills out to the printing company for printing and mailing. So if we put them in the mail, it would be a real tight timeline to get a response back and to be able to address the situation.
Is it possible to perhaps send the letter but simply state that the notice has been left at the location and thereby not affecting that 7-day?
We can certainly do that, but keep in mind, while that is going on, the bills will have been printed and mailed out, but it will allow the owner to catch it a little bit sooner.
But I think, and that's the goal there, especially when you say it's possible a disgruntled tenant could easily remove the tag.
Right.
Not saying that happened, but.
Right, it's a possibility.
And based on the amount of, I mean, don't want to put an undue burden administratively, but I can't imagine there's that many. There's only a couple.
Yeah, and I honestly don't have a handle on how many door tags are left. There can be a few. And when I say a few, there could be 25 or 30 of them in a period.
Per quarter. Maybe you can come up with just a form letter, but that's just.
Yeah, and what we can do is evaluate it, and notify the owners of the ones that are extremely high. If it's marginally high, maybe treat those if they have time, but if they're extremely high, I think a notice is in order.
Thank you.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, Courtney, will you poll the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Gore?
Yes.
Selectman Duggan?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Chairman Chilton?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dorn.
Right, this time we have the continuation of the liquor license violation hearing dated September 12th, 2016 for the Polish American Citizens Club, 37 Harris Street.
Yeah, so Deputy Chief Shaw, if you want to join us as well. In the packet is information about the previous hearing. The minutes from that meeting are included, as well as the police report from that evening. So I think there's an email from our town council with suggested language on how the town may want to move forward with this. So, Mr. Chairman, I don't know how you want to run it, if you want to open it up to questions from the public or...
Yeah, just to recap, at the last hearing, we had heard from both the Webster Police Department side and the Polish American Citizens Club side, and the board had made a motion at that time to delay their final deliberation on whether or not a license suspension was warranted due to an issue of blood alcohol content being made public.
Yeah, so, and that has been made available, it's in the package as well. So this is public information, so it is, the alcohol level was 262 milligrams per DL, which corresponds to a 0.23% blood alcohol level when the legal limit's 0.08%.
Did we have any, I'll open it up to the police department first, and then we can hear from the ACC, and then the board can make a decision.
Just a continuation of the hearing. Sergeant Wentworth has conducted an investigation. I don't know how far back we want to go. I know we have the council here, in brief. But Sergeant Wentworth, we had received a call shortly after midnight on June 26th at 17 Westview, car into a house. Officer Sergeant Wheeler was on scene. Notified our action crash reconstruction. Through their investigation on scene, they determined that the operator was intoxicated, and they charged him with summons in court. He was brought to the hospital. I know that the reason for the delay from the hearing from the last time was because he was brought to the hospital. There's no breathalyzer test that they would give someone who's brought under arrest. So there was a question. The criminal case was still proceeding, so there was a question as to whether or not those results would be made available. We did speak to the district attorney for the Dudley District Court, who told us that we could use them for the purposes of this hearing, which I then released to you folks in a letter corresponding to that. Sergeant Wentworth also did conduct an investigation after this incident and did establish a timeline, which he is prepared to hand out today to share with the board, should they see necessary, just to establish that the operator was served shortly before the action occurred. The timeline would show that his last drink of the ACC was over, which would be grounds for the violations before the board.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Mark Ehrlich. I'm here with Donata Gago. She is the current manager of the PACC. What I don't have is piles of testimony, piles of video evidence, piles of records that refute the information contained in the police report. Unfortunately, the records of the PACC were not that excellently kept. Moving forward, however, for 3 months, Donata has been the manager of the facility and of the club, and has instituted procedures now that I don't believe were present at the time of the violation for tip certifying and regularly testing their bartenders and employees to make sure they know what they're doing. It's a very important issue. Mrs. Gago acknowledges that. I truly have no testimony that I can offer that's going to refute the report. So I have to let the report speak for itself. But I can say, going forward, there are new procedures that this will not happen again. Each bartender currently is tip certified, properly tip certified, has the proper training and the certifications from the state to be a bartender, as is Mrs. Gago as well. They will bring in, perhaps as much as 6 times a year, what I call fakers, someone to come in and test the bar. And I'm going to provide that. I also operate a facility in Worcester. I have people that I can bring in that will properly test their bartenders to see if they know what they're doing. So as far as the violation is concerned, we cannot admit or deny that happened. We saw the report. We don't have testimony to refute it. So we're asking for consideration going forward, that if a suspension is allowed, that perhaps that suspension is suspended to allow the new management to prove itself to the town and the police department. That's all I have tonight.
I'll open it up to questions from the board.
I guess I have several in the sense that I know and I've done some research online with regards to notices from the ABCC. And I know the mere fact of having a 0.23 blood alcohol level after a crash is not, let's say, evidence enough with regards to a liquor license violation. So if I could maybe ask our police department a few questions, because in the research that I've done, the 3 things that the ABCC talks about, was the person intoxicated on the premises? Did the employee, the bar server of the premises, know or should they have known that the patron was intoxicated? And 3, the patron was then sold alcohol knowing or should have known that patron was intoxicated. So in the ABCC information that I looked at, it was specifically asking for evidence of outward signs of intoxication with regards to the server. And I'll maybe provide some of the facts and then ask for additional facts and/or commentary from our police department. We know in the facts that the employee was not tip certified. That causes me a lot of concern, given that tip certification teaches someone how to identify the signs, obviously, of an intoxicated person. And if you don't have tip certification, I question then how can you identify those signs of intoxication. In the police report, of course, it's not a court. It is a report, but there was evidence in there that the bartender was lying, not telling the truth on several occasions. There was a juvenile in there that said specifically that the bartender witnessed the car backing into a bench. The bartender then denied that. There was a witness that talked about that she was going to get in trouble because she was in training, and the bartender then originally denied that. Again, I'm reading right from the police reports. Originally denied that, and then later recanted, saying that yes, she did actually say that to another gentleman there. So part of my dilemma is I'm questioning the credibility of the bartender, because it seems as though the bartender isn't really telling the truth. Yet the ABCC requires us under the law the bartender is supposed to have noticed that the person is intoxicated, and then, did that ever come up? The bloodshot eyes, the slurred speech, the inability or difficulty talking to others or whatnot. Did any of that perhaps come up that any of the officers noticed?
I'll let Sergeant Owen answer that. He spoke, he could speak to the bartender that way. Sure. Let him answer that question, and I'll.
Thank you.
Specifically as to the signs and symptoms of intoxication, the bartender didn't allude to any of that. But she also made mention of the fact that, this particular person, this person who crashed into the house, could drink a 30-pack of Bud Light with no effect. And I think I included that in my report, which, as I'm sure anybody would know, can't happen. But she did have some credibility issues. I think that the timeline, I have just a bullet point timeline, if I could submit it to you folks. Might help to just kind of point out exactly what happened and when it happened. Now, this is according to, my investigation and the witness interviews that I conducted. We don't have any, to my knowledge, no video evidence to
Thank you.
There's no video evidence or other evidence to either verify or dispel that. This is going solely off witness interviews that were conducted during my investigation. And I think the most important point in the timeline, as you'll notice, is that according to the witnesses that I interviewed, there was only approximately 22 minutes of time that elapsed from when they left the PACC until when the crash occurred. And of that 22 minutes, approximately 9 minutes, according to Mr. Lamont, approximately 9 minutes, 4 minutes, she estimated her time of travel from the PACC to her home. Then she estimated another 4 to 5 minutes until she saw Mr. Dupras's car, which would only have given him about 13 minutes approximately. These aren't concrete numbers, these are estimations based upon the witness interviews. Would have given him only approximately 13 minutes to get there from the PACC. And it hardly would have been enough time to consume as much alcohol to reach a .23.
And I know also from reviewing a number of the cases at the ABCC that kind of chain of custody, if you could, of the individual, sometimes the individual would have left for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then come back. And so this somewhat points to the fact that the individual was there, it looks like at a minimum from 1930 to 2400 hours. So, almost 4.5 hours. And then the person left and then unfortunately ran into the house. I'm sorry, Deputy Chief.
No, I was just going to, just to reiterate what Sergeant Morris said, is just the evidence speaks for it in and of itself. He was there for some amount of time, he served several years, several ranks that we know of. He left there, got to the action a short while thereafter, and it was a .23. That's the evidence that we present. I think it speaks for itself as far as the level of intoxication. I also think the board should consider, and I applaud the PACC for taking those steps, and I think that's fantastic. We had a rough go of it, I think, last year.
Thank you.
But not to be lost on the board is the fact that the house that this young man struck, these people have been out of the house. They have not been able to live there. They've been living in a trailer for the better part of a year. I spoke to the owner today. They in the middle of a fight between the insurance, which I know is not necessarily the town's problem, but I think that needs to be considered. This isn't like you PC'd somebody walking down the street. This person caused significant property damage. It's greatly affected the lives of these people. Given the previous violation that we had, I would ask the board to find this in the second one.
And even more so than the property damage, he was a danger to himself and to others as well.
Yeah, he's actually, I believe, very significant injury to his foot.
When you travel through the neighborhood, there was actually people outside, young children that were getting in a car, and their statements provided that he came and defeated them going approximately 60 to 70 miles an hour. So he was a danger to himself and a great danger to the public at that time.
I mean, these are actions of an individual, not actions, and I acknowledge if this person was overserved, then that's improper, but these are actions of an individual, not the PACC, the actions that were taken, failure to get someone to drive them home, driving recklessly through a neighborhood. Those are an individual's choices and actions, and not the PACC. But again, we just don't have any records to refute. I know Ms. Lamont seems a little loose with the facts, but I know you gents do a great job over there, so I'm not refuting your police report. I just don't have the evidence to do that. Just have to let it speak for itself.
And I too appreciate, the fact that there haven't been issues. There was 2 issues in a short period of time, and applaud, the new management and making it a lot safer.
The club has been in existence since the turn of the 19th century and been in the present location since approximately the 1930s. Going forward, I know Donata, I've known her for many years, and I know that she will do an excellent job managing that facility. Just asking for some consideration to that.
And I think, once the board, if it comes to that conclusion, maybe we can talk about our policy, if it gets to that point. There was just one other thing that came up at the September 12th meeting that I did want to make sure was, this is part of the minutes of the meeting, and it was the reason why we ended up postponing the hearing, and that's the blood alcohol level was not available at that time. And I think it was Mr. Dugevich at the time was asking Attorney Bridgman, and I read from the minutes, Attorney Bridgman stated the board needed to prove that he was overserved, and then referred to the fact that there was no blood alcohol level available. And understanding the proof to overserve is not necessarily just the blood alcohol level. It's the facts and tips and whatnot. So those are all the questions that I have for now.
Any other questions from the board members? If not, do we have a motion?
This is second offense?
Yes, this would be the second offense within a 12-month period.
And if you are going to make a recommendation or a motion, recommend looking at what the attorney highlighted as a potential motion, because it includes the specific violations of Mass General Law, and also recommends that we adopt the findings from the police department as part of it. There's a copy.
It's in this package.
Yeah.
So one question for any motions. We also have our policy, which we're going to be looking at. I'm not sure if we're going to be discussing it tonight on the agenda, or if it's just on the agenda for future discussion. And with regards to Attorney Ehrlich's commentary about, is there anything we can do? Maybe there's something we can work with our policy, if possible, for if a motion is made to find the violation, is there a way then to have a suspension on, and then, like the courts do, with regards to making sure there's nothing that happens in the next year or two. So I'm going to at least throw that out there before we even get into making motions. So I don't know if we're going to look at our policy tonight.
The plan was not to specifically look at the policy, but identify policies to review before the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yeah.
I had recused myself last time, and the reason being I thought I was a member. However, I found out I am not a member of the club, but being the change of manager, Mrs. Gago, I did vote on that, and I did vote for her to be on as the manager. But listening, and I'm listening, it's a horrible thing that happened to this family. There's no two ways about it, because of some individual out of control. I know the PACC has, and I thank Mrs. Gago for that, has shown some initiative to take leadership in trying to control some of the
Trying my best.
different things that have gone on, and I appreciate that, and I think everybody should go by that. And I was just curious, I don't know how the board will feel, but I was just wondering, in lieu of all of that, if we could show, there'll be probably some sort of, I can't answer for the board, but maybe show a little bit of leniency, even though this is a very serious offense. I got somebody going like that. I don't like having a nervous problem, but the idea of it is, I'm not saying to avoid it, but don't make it disappear, because, people live in that house. Well, they can't live in the house. But the idea of it is, with a consideration of the board, it'd usually be a week, wouldn't it? I believe, second offense?
It was 1 week suspension.
1 week? I would move it, say, for 5 days, if that's possible, if that would be in agreement with parties concerned. And I don't know what the insurance company with this family, I'm going, oh my God. I've dealt with insurance companies, and it can be very, very difficult, to say the least. But I don't know how the offices, I'm not discrediting you at all. And please, I admire what your timeline and everything. I'm just throwing that out there to the board. I don't know if I'm right or wrong.
No, Mr. Miller, I appreciate that. You know, that's, you know, I think meeting out the punishment maybe before we, if we're going to take a vote, we would have to take the vote, and I would certainly consider some
That's all it is,
alteration.
consideration,
To our,
that's all I'm saying.
alteration to our stated policy, which is 7 days. But I guess I'm going to have to make and I'll read the motion that's suggested by our attorney. I
Yes.
move, based on the facts introduced at the hearings conducted on September 12th, 16, and May 22nd, 2017.
Sorry, that should be actually today's date.
June 19th.
Sorry. And June 19th, 2017, that the board suspend the license of the Polish American Citizens Club for 5 days, based on the following violations that occurred on June 25 and 26 of, I believe that's 2016. Number 1, violation of MGL Chapter 138, Section 69, service of alcohol to intoxicated persons. And 2, violation of Board of Selectmen policy. All licensees have until January 1st, 97 to have their employees who are involved in the service of alcohol trained by completing a course or workshop such as the TIPS program offered by, I know there are several vendors that offered that. In this case, it was Campbell and Trent. And number 3, violation of MGL Chapter 138, Section 63A, hindering or delaying investigation. And I further move in support of this narrative that the board adopt at its findings of fact, the facts set forth in the supplemental narrative for Sergeant Gordon Wentworth Jr., supplemental narrative for Patrolman Timothy Whiting, and supplemental narrative for Patrolman Patrick Perry, which were submitted into evidence during the hearing. The decision letter should include copies of the narratives and the vote.
So the motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
For discussion, through the chair, back when this was first brought up, I needed to recuse myself because at the time, the Morgans, Donna had worked for me. Donna is currently not working for me since this incident occurred.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, do the 5
Yes.
days need to be consecutive? Is it possible to offer 5 days non-consecutive?
What have we done in the past?
They've been consecutive, aren't they?
It would be consecutive.
Well, we are, I think, breaking with the policy with the 5 days. 'Cause I think
Just a
the second-
suggestion.
And also, I think the policy does say, doesn't it have to start on Thursday? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like number 31.
So according to our policy that was adopted on January 29th, 2014, a second offense would be a suspension of a license for a minimum of 7 days. And the license suspensions would begin on a Thursday and run consecutive days and must be completed within 60 days of the hearing.
Mr. Chairman, in lieu of the past 3 months, the change in manager and the fact that we're actually not going with the 7 days per our policy, I guess I'd look to further possibly amend my motion in here to suspend for Monday through Friday. Or Sunday through Thursday, if that helps.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Well,
Well,
yeah, further discussion. I mean, should we hear from the people that are lost their
They've been
house?
affected terribly.
I think they'd like to. I'm not supposed to. Would you like to?
Sure. I don't think there should be, they should have a suspension, and it should be for 7 days, whatever the policy allows the most. I have been out of my house for a whole year. through no fault of my own. I was sleeping. I'm sorry that you have new management now and they changed new rules. But the event happened. And at that point, I believe, a year ago, there were 2 incidents within a matter of 3 to 5 months that there was issues up there at the PACC. You're saying wipe the slate clean, we don't have to do it. I've been a victim, now I gotta be a victim again. I was a victim with the car that hit my house. The insurance company is not fessing up, and now you just want to get off the hook? That doesn't seem fair. So I just didn't want you guys to vote on anything before you thought it through. That's why I was doing the thing. It's like, I've been out, and I had to quit working. I couldn't even. So, the kid's not even in jail yet. So, it seems like no matter what, you're trying to get off the hook as well. Everybody is getting off the hook, except for me.
And it may have been an individual that did it, but they were still overserved at bar.
I can't lose that amount of alcohol from the PACC to my house. And the lady was driving, I'm sure it wasn't 9 minutes, I'm sure it was more like 3 minutes from there to here. And I would, if I can, I would like to know when the bartender actually was signed up for the tips training. I believe last year they said that she may not have had it at the time of the crash, but she got it like in July. So I want to know when she was signed up. Was she signed up after June and they were trying to cover their tracks that she did something wrong? Or was she signed up the day she got the job? So she would have been done in June. I think
We don't have
that's-
any information, I don't know if the
Yeah,
police
she
department.
was tip certified July 14th.
July 14th, as to
After the, no,
as to when she actually signed up for the exam or the class or whatever is
Right.
entailed in that, I don't know.
Right, was she covering her tracks because she wasn't tip certified? And now that she did this, was the PACC pushing her to go so they could get off the hook?
If I may,
Yeah, go right ahead.
our apologies, our deepest apologies for all of that. We're only trying to move forward. Ms. Lamont no longer works for the PACC. Each employee going forward is properly trained and properly tip certified and will be properly tested on a very consistent basis. Nothing that we can say can affect what's happened to the lady, this couple behind me, of course. It's horrible. That is 100% horrible. But 5 days is not nothing. 5 days of lost revenue is significant. It's significant in a small club setting, of course. That's significant in a large club. So we would ask that you continue on with the proposed 5-day suspension. There's no objection from us on that.
So you don't think being kicked out of my house
It's
for a
hor-
year?
Ma'am, it's horrible. It's horrible. I can't say anything other than it's horrible. But it doesn't change the fact that Ms. Lamont no longer works there, and we're trying to make a better club, and this club has been in this town since the 30s.
And I don't think this hearing and the vote that's before us now in any way dismisses the fact that this happened.
No.
And it is certainly a penalty, and God forbid another one happens, it's a 30-day suspension. And I think, in my opinion, only because we're kind of in the flux of looking at our policies. In fact, this is the first one, and I would be the first one to make an amendment motion to them to require, under penalties of a liquor law violation in the town, to require only tip certified servers. In other words, no trainees. You have to have a tip certified. Unfortunately, that wasn't in the policy. So that's just an unfortunate thing. But clearly, I can't give you any words of the suffering you've had, and I feel terrible about that. But it's not like this is being swept under the rug at all. This is still a significant penalty, and if it happens again, 30 days, you may not have a club after 30 days. I don't know, but God forbid it ever does happen.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Otherwise, we'll take a vote of the board.
Just a little more discussion on this. What really bothered me too is evidently there were folks, I thought I heard somebody said there was somebody outside or whatever. Did I read that somewhere or hear that somewhere?
There were
in the
people
neighborhood?
outside getting their children in their car on that street that it happened.
I want to make an amendment to my motion.
Okay.
7 days.
Mm.
That bothers me. The whole neighborhood could have gone to hell besides what's happened to these folks.
So we have a,
It's lucky that nothing else happened. It is.
Lucky nobody was killed.
It could have been a
I
tragedy.
agree with you. I agree with you.
so we have an amendment to the motion to make it consistent with our policy for seven consecutive days. Is there a second to that amendment?
I'll second it.
All right. So we have a motion and second. Any further discussion?
Yes, through the chair,
Yes.
starting on Thursday or starting on the Monday?
If it's a full week, I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
All right. If not, we will now.
So I think in accordance with our policy then is what we're,
Select. All right. Courtney, will you poll the board?
Selectman Miller?
And it's on the second of the amended.
Yes.
Yes.
Selectman Ford?
Yes.
Selectman Duggan?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
yes.
Chairman Jola?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then moving on, we have the town administrator's report.
Thank you. So first up, a few announcements. I'd like to thank all the veterans that participated in the Memorial Day parade and ceremony. It was a great event, and we were lucky enough that the rain held off through the ceremony. That was nice. An announcement: this Friday through Sunday, we have the Firefighter Summer Carnival. That's going to include fireworks on Friday night, so that'll be open at the Memorial Beach. Today is the start of the summer reading program. More information is available on the website. The beach will be open on weekdays starting next week. And just a reminder that the Independence Day fireworks are going to be on July 1st at dusk. So that's the Saturday prior to the 4th of July holiday. Over the summer, we're going to have on Wednesday evenings a summer's market from 5 to 8 p.m. That'll be from July 5th through August 30th, and that'll be followed up with a summer concert series in the French River Park. I'd like to go over some of our reports. So under public health and safety, we had another opioid task force meeting. Over the past 3 months, we've had 21 overdoses. That's increased slightly in the month of May. Of roughly half of those that have been part of have been contacted by the Webster Resource Center, have accepted help, and are currently in rehabilitation programs. Wanted to update a little bit on the high-profile cases that have been in the news lately. So if you recall, on May 20th, there was a shooting. It was here at the corner of Maynard and Niga Street. The victim was at the time uncooperative, but with the help of surveillance video, the Worcester Police Department gang unit and the Webster Police, they identified the shooter, and they have a warrant out for the rest. The victim is a Worcester resident with known gang ties. The shooter had no gang affiliation. They were arguing about that when the shooting happened. The shooter is originally not from this area. He's from Fall River. The other incident on May 29th, was a report of a vehicle being shot. Actually, it seems now that was not a shooting. It was just vandalism. The car had been stabbed with a sharp object. So right now, it's not looking like it was a shooting at all. The police department has been involved in some directed proactive patrols. So these are highly visible patrols that have been going on there. The idea is to take an aggressive approach to crime and make Webster known as a hot area where, if you come here to commit crime, deal drugs, you're going to be caught. So as part of that, we've been working with different areas. Actually, the other day we had a traffic stop right here, actually in front of Town Hall. And while they did that traffic stop, they found 40 bags of weed that was for sale, ready to be sold on the street. So by doing these proactive patrols, we're going to be able to catch things like that and help crime stop before it happens. We're also coordinating with other regional resources, including the Worcester Gang Unit. State Police has also been involved as well. On here, I have a few statistics comparing last year to this year. If you look at it, the calls have increased a little bit from 16 to 17, but if you look at the arrests, they increased dramatically, over 100, almost 125. So I think this helps shows that the police department's been active and more aggressive this year, and they have been fruitful. Also, I want to talk about the internal investigation report that has been done. If you recall, several months ago, I got an email from someone. It seemed that they were using an alias. After reviewing the email, I contacted an investigator that he could come in and investigate the claims made in the email, some of which were that there was an excessive use of force and that there might have been attempts to cover up the incident. From that report, it's been cleared that the Officer Perry, did no wrong. There was no excessive use of force. They found that the reports of a potential cover-up were completely unfounded. And the report said that it looked like someone from within or very close to the department was the original sender of the email. So we are taking appropriate action within the police department to address some of the concerns that were brought up in the report. So appropriate disciplinary measures will be taken. Also, the report is available on the town's website in its redacted form. Going on to town finances, again, we have the deficit in snow and ice that we'll need to be covering. Most likely we'll be covering that at the October town meeting through free cash. Our legal budget is still well within the budget and looks like we'll be fine for the rest of the fiscal year. I'm working on a 5-year forecast for the operating budget. So we'll be taking that to the members of the finance team and then to the finance committee to get their input on it. And at the same time, we'll be working on a 5-year capital plan as well. I wanted to point out a few of our grants that we have received recently. Well, one is a Meta grant, which it helps communities become more energy efficient. So this is providing an energy audit for us. We also got an ADA grant from the state for $22,000 for equipment at the beach. So a mat to take people from where the paved surfaces are down to the water, and also from the paved surfaces over to the playground equipment. We got a $25,000 grant to update our open space and recreation plan. Got a $2,500 grant, $1,250 grant from the state for recycling that we'll probably use to help offset when people want to recycle hazardous materials. We can use that to offset the cost of that. And then we'll talk about this more later, but we have a street lights grant that we'll be eligible for. As far as economic development issues, I've been working with 2 downtown properties for potential TIF agreements. As you know, the Mass Organic Therapies is now operational over behind the Price Chopper Plaza. And we have some ongoing projects. The Davis Street construction is underway. The water treatment plant is in process to be bid out in July. We discussed the library today for underperformance review. Next meeting we'll be covering the senior center. We installed some signs downtown. We also foreclosed on a property on 28 Mechanic Street, so the town will be looking to auction that off in the fall. And our attorney is making a motion to foreclose on 34 East Main. That's the building that burned down. We'll also be discussing that later in the meeting. And we're working on developing a nuisance property slumlord bylaw that we'd like to bring to the board in a few months and then have it approved at the October town meeting. And last of all, the citizen survey is available on the town website. So are there any questions regarding the town administrator's report? Sorry, this is kind of long.
Question on the beach. Are we gonna have kayaks and canoe rentals there?
Yep, so they will be there on the weekends, starting this weekend.
Good.
So that's Lakeview Marine is actually the one that's going to be doing that.
And are we gonna take steps to look at maybe a marina down there during the
Yeah.
off-season?
Yeah, so we'll have to, there's a state permitting process, so we're starting that process now. As it takes like 6 months to get it permitted, and then we can do a request for proposals for someone to operate a marina at the site.
And the goal of that would be to have a marina in place for the spring of
Next year.
18.
I hope so, yes.
If I may, on that same subject, I had a rendering that I did years ago on that, and maybe I can look that up in the archives. But the initial outline of monies would probably be recouped after the first year, depending on how many people you'd have to rent. Of course, you'd probably have to put in lighting too, and so forth. But they'd have to abide by the rules of the beach too, so.
Right, yeah, so the actual cost of the dock system isn't exorbitant, but the security and having someone to man it, that all needs to be worked out, so.
And one other thing, if I may, on the investigative thing, as you read today in the paper, I was the one that got the original emails, and I hand-delivered them, 2 of them, to the administrator, which I thought was proper protocol at the time, since he is the appointing authority. And I don't know that person, still don't know that person, don't have a clue, but I think the administrator, myself, I think I've shared that with you, saying, I don't know who this is, I don't like this, here you go. And I gave, matter of fact, I gave that to the investigators also, so.
Yeah. And actually, very conveniently, town council was in my office when you dropped it off. So.
Yeah, thank you. So if there's any question, and no, I wasn't gonna relinquish my computer, Brian, because that's my workforce, okay? That's what I play with, that's how I pay my bills too. But thank you.
I think with regard to the excessive use report, I would like to have that for further discussion on our next meeting. And I think what disturbs me the most is that it is akin to filing a false police report, that whomever came up with this said, you know, unfortunately for Mr. Miller, he got the emails. I would ask, and I would ask a vote of this board to have the DA do an investigation. I would hope the DA would in fact take this on, because when you do what was, and I know the public, I don't think has seen this email, but when you accuse the police of excessive force, you accuse of cover-ups, you don't just get away with that. That has to be investigated. It's not something that I think can be investigated within this town, just as it's not within the purview of this board to deal with any potential ramifications to the officers who were named in the report. That's between the chief and the town administrator. But what is within our powers is asking for the DA to look into this, because I'm not going to sit here and just take this, because this is a violation as far as I'm concerned, a violation of privacy, a violation of public policy, and I would like to know, I'd like to get to the bottom of it. So I'd ask that actually in the form of a motion.
I'll second your motion, Mr. Becker.
I do have a couple questions on that, but maybe we can do this.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
You probably could get the IP address. You know more about computers than I do.
I would hope that they wouldn't look to take Mr. Miller's computer, but someone could spend, I would think, an hour or two with
In my
Mr. Miller
office?
viewing them.
In my office,
Over
I
a
don't have a
shoulder?
problem with it.
Well, even if you have, like, it came from this address, can't you?
But they could find that,
Do
you
it.
know, that's the
Without
right way to
actually
do it, and I would
do
hope
it.
the DA would be able to do that. I can understand, I wouldn't want my personal computer given up, but I would think that if, and it sounds like Mr. Miller's okay with this, if he could just be there in the presence of the investigator and they can do what it is they do, you have proper
I
backup.
don't have a problem with that.
Thank you.
As long as it doesn't leave my property, I have no problem with that.
Any other discussion? If not, Quentin, will you pull the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Ford?
Yes.
Selectman Beckman?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Chairman Schultz?
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman, just 2 other items. On the recycling, that $1,250, perhaps the town administrator can look into, I know other towns have hazmat or reclamation days or what have you, but. it'd be
Yeah,
great to
that's what
have
they do.
here.
So actually, rather than doing that, they actually suggested there's a site in Sutton that will take this any day.
I've been there,
of the year, so they said perhaps you just, buy it down for the first, 100 or so town residents that take something. So, but yeah, that's a possibility.
It's not inexpensive, but it's the right way to get rid of the paint and
Right.
whatnot. And lastly, when Doug talked about the clean and beautiful developing nuisance property slumlord bylaw, I thought it would be a good idea to ask our town administrator to speak with the police department and let's see, and compile a list of the top 20 properties in this town that have issues and have had the highest number of police calls, whatnot, in the past year.
I've been asking for that for 5 years.
And I know Doug actually, in your letter that you appointed Lieutenant Shaw to deputy chief, you mentioned that on the second page.
Yeah.
And I know you probably didn't mean this, but it said for non-resident. It doesn't matter if they're resident or non-resident. They should be, if they're on that list.
Yeah.
We need to look at that list. So.
With inspectional services accompanying, absolutely.
And I think it's something we should see. I mean, that's all public record.
Yeah, so we have met with the inspectional services as well as with Deputy Shaw. We all had a meeting and we went through the top 10 high priority areas, but yeah, we can definitely provide that list as well as the top 20 and include all of the ones that get responded to the most, all those properties.
And bring the landlords in, the owners in here.
Yeah, actually that's all part of the policy we're trying to develop, and actually even put, kind of a clawback. If we're responding to this so many times, we're going to start charging you after X amount.
No, I think it modeled after what I think Mr. Dugevich spearheaded, with the derelict properties.
Yeah.
We should take that next step.
Yeah. So perhaps we're going to have a draft of the policy, of the bylaw, and that list of the top 20 properties, hopefully for our next meeting.
I have no other questions.
Do we have a motion to
So
accept
moved.
the town administrator's
Second.
report? All right, we have a motion second. Any discussion? If not, Courtney, will you poll the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Ford?
Yes.
Selectman Duggan?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Chairman Chilton?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I know we still have a lot of items left. I was wondering if we could take an item out of order about the executive secretary to the Board of Selectmen.
Oh, certainly. Not a problem.
We interviewed several candidates. I actually interviewed quite a few candidates for the position of the executive secretary to the town administrator. After Courtney was chosen to fill that position, we took some of the candidates that I felt were the highest qualified. I met with Andrew and Selectman Becker to interview those candidates. Jen was our top candidate. She has a lot of experience in municipalities. She was the operations director for the town of Millis, held other positions with the town as well, and worked in the town of Uxbridge also. I think she's a very qualified candidate. I'm excited to have the potential to work with her. I think she'll be able to help our office and help the Board of Selectmen be efficient and effective in their pursuit of town policy and goals.
So do we have a motion?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. So moved.
Second.
Jennifer be our executives, if she wants to put up with us.
Second, and in light of discussion, assuming you still want it after hearing. Sitting
I
through your
do.
first.
I accept the challenge.
All right, we have a motion second. Any further
Yeah,
discussion?
I just saw that, yeah.
If not, Courtney, you poll the
Lightning.
board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Ford?
Yes.
Selectman Duggan?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Chairman Chilton?
Absolutely, yes.
Just as I said before, please excuse me if I, for a while, say Courtney.
I will excuse you. Thank you.
We're
for
so
now,
used to her.
congratulations.
Welcome aboard.
Jim,
Don't forget to ask if you're available July 10th.
Yeah.
You might not want to go.
Moving
Deluge us.
on, we
Thank
have the memorandum of understanding by and between the Metropolitan Area Planning Council and the town of Webster.
So I have a few slides on this. The Metropolitan Area Planning Council is the regional planning group for the Boston area. They have a program funded by the state to help with the conversion of streetlights for towns. in all of Massachusetts. So there's a few, I wanted to go over some of the cost estimates from this. Hopefully it turns on. I think it's just a little slow. Sorry, Greg. Yep. But while we wait for it to show up, so some of the benefits from switching to LED street lights is that it saves money. Right now, if we switch, the annual maintenance savings would be about $80,000 a year, and then the annual energy savings would be about $86,000 a year. So the total savings would be $167,000. It also saves energy, obviously. It would be about 434,000 kilowatts saved annually, and that's the equivalent of 182 tons of carbon dioxide. It also improves safety. With LED lights, you're able to direct the light where it goes better. Excuse me. It improves drivability and also the aesthetics. Thank you. So, I have this awesome picture of what a street looks like with LEDs and non-LEDs.
It's not light.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we need an LED light for the projector. Thank you.
Is it dead?
There is a light there, but just not.
Yeah, it's just not projecting.
Anyway, you'll just have to believe me that LED lights look a lot better than the high pressure sodium. You don't get that orangish glow. What they try to do is when they have the street lights, they match the color of the moon, so it's as natural as you can get. If you drive through Sutton, they recently went through a street light conversion, so that's what the street lights would look like if we converted them here. So there's a cost to switching these over to LEDs. The LED retrofit cost is $300,000. That's after getting the grant from the state, which is about $100,000. We also have to purchase the street lights from National Grid. So I requested a quote from them several months ago. They lost it, so I had to re-request it. So we're waiting for that. When I was in Somerville, we did this, and the purchase price for the town's 4,000 streetlights in Somerville was $1, because it had been, they were very old streetlights, and so they had better useful life. I'm thinking that we'll have something similar here in Webster, that they will not be too expensive. If you look at the costs, if it was a zero cost to purchase the streetlights, it would be a payback of 1.8 years. I just picked a number, $200,000 to purchase the streetlights. If we did that, it would be a payback of 3 years. So I think it'd be, there we go. Thanks, Greg. I just want to show you this picture because I think it makes a huge difference. And then you can see in the back of the one on the right, there's still the yellow pictures.
Yeah.
Huh?
Now we're going to leave it on there. So, again, with the savings of $160,000 each year, the payback is really quick. 2 years, up to 3 years if we have to. There's a significant purchase price from National Grid to buy the streetlights. So the next steps are I have to get the actual price for the streetlights. After that, I'll be entering into the MOU with the MAPC, assuming that they're not absorbent. I think it will be less than the $200,000 to purchase all of our streetlights. I will be requesting at our next meeting money to complete a streetlight audit. That's one of the requirements. So that'll be money that we'll have to find within the current budget. But once the streetlight audit's complete, we can move forward and we would ask October town meeting for the $300,000 to retrofit the streetlights. Also, as part of the streetlight audit, they go through and they analyze all the town roads and they say, this area is kind of dark, maybe we should add an extra light here, or this area is actually has light pollution, maybe we should remove a few lights. Then we work through the MAPC to procure the lights and installation, and also to procure a company to maintain the streetlights in the future, which is actually very little because the LED streetlights last 20 years before they start dying off. So that's the process. Does the board have any questions? I included the MOU that we'd be signing with the MAPC. I will execute that as soon as I'm comfortable with the street light purchase price from National Grid.
Sounds good.
And that through the chair, that MOU doesn't commit us, obviously, we still have to have a vote of the
Yep.
town. I hope that they agree with it. As far as maintenance of these, I know LEDs are supposed to last 20 years, but we're on the hook should something.
Yeah, we would be, and as part of this, MAPC would help us procure someone to maintain them. And they estimated under $15,000 for a maintenance contract.
Just out of curiosity, how many lights?
I
should
think it
know
was
this?
1,400.
1,400 Webster? Thank you.
Moving on, we have requests from Paula Framboy to be reappointed to the planning board for a 3-year term with the term to expire on June 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, Courtney, will you poll the board?
I just actually, if I could,
Oh.
Mr. Chairman, just like to thank Mr. Leffenboy. He's done a great job, and I'm thrilled that he'd be willing to step up again.
Absolutely. Any other discussion? If not, Courtney, will you poll the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Ford?
Yes.
Selectman Duggan?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Chairman Jordan?
Yes. Next item is a letter of request to be reappointed as a constable from William Keefe.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
He's been with us quite a while now.
Yes.
Not that he's old, not saying.
Any other discussion? If not, Courtney, poll the board.
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Ford?
Yes.
Selectman Duggan?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Chairman Jordan?
Yes. We have a notice from the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission for a notice of an appeal hearing for the Polish American Citizens Club, Inc., with the hearing dated Wednesday, August 2nd at 10 a.m.
Yeah, so I'll be attending. It would be nice if we could have another member of the board attend as well. KP Law will also be sending a representative. So if the chair would like to attend,
I
I'm
will,
willing to pick you up.
not a problem, we can make that happen then.
I'm available if you need it, if you ever can't do it.
Absolutely. Next item is Fire Teamsters Union negotiations.
So I'm handing down the draft collective bargaining agreement that we negotiated in good faith with the firefighters union. The first page contains a summary of what changes were made, and the back of that front page has a salary comparison to firefighters in other communities that have a similar call structure, and also an internal comparison to some similar to other positions within town. And then we have the full agreement here. I'll quickly go over some of the changes. The union requested a 6-step discipline process for any firefighters that need disciplinary action. We agreed to the suggested language that our town council provided, that for every instance we can't use the same process. Some are more egregious, that need to have different process for that. So they agreed for this language that our council put in. There's a request to change how shifts were picked. We actually were able to work that out with the fire chief and with the union. There was actually no change in the actual collective bargaining agreement language. They requested bi-weekly pay. Actually, everyone else was on weekly pay, so we just agreed that we go to weekly. They requested double pay for holidays. We agreed to time and a half. They requested that they would get paid extra duties for going to town events. We said no. If they're on duty, they can cover the town events as an existing firefighter that's on duty. They requested $15,000 for additional funding for training. Currently, that's budgeted about $3,500. We agreed that we bump that up to $5,000, and then in the future, if we're using that training money and we feel like there needs to be more, then we'll be willing to increase that budget. They asked that we would pay for them to be certified, specifically for them to like go to the class, and we would pay them for their time at the class, which we did not agree to. And again, for the full time, they requested double time for holidays, and we agreed to time and a half. They requested additional money for uniform allowance. We brought that back down. And then we have the wage table that's attached, and it's a 2.5%, 3% increase. So if you look at how those salaries compare to other similar firefighter positions in the central Mass, actually Auburn and Grafton have the most similar structure because they don't have a full firefighters on duty all the time. So we actually are still below those communities. And if you compare them to like a senior clerk in the building here or a senior custodian, actually you're making less than them as well. So I feel like this was a good agreement with the union. We got along very well with them. I feel like it's a just and fair agreement for both sides.
And do you need any votes on this or no?
Yeah, so we'll need the vote and signatures for the actual agreement.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion?
To thank not only Doug, but certainly the union for, working diligently and working in good faith.
Yeah, and
Much
definitely
appreciated.
Chief Hickey, he had all the experience in the area, so leaned on him
If there's no other discussion, Courtney, you poll the board.
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Ford?
Yes.
Selectman Dugannon?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Chairman Schultz?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is Selectmen Code of Conduct Policy discussion. So I'll turn this over to
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I asked to put it on the agenda. I thought it's just, coming from the private side, and, we have all kinds of corporate codes of conduct and whatnot. I happened to be visiting the town of Holden's site for a different matter, and I happened to see the code of conduct that they had. I emailed the proposal that I had to all of you. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it. If not, I'll just
I
give
have
it out to
copies
you.
here. Oh, if you do as well.
And certainly don't have to have the discussion this week. We can have it next week. But my reason for it, I think, is pretty straightforward. It's something that I would hope that we would have as a board. We would also entertain this with the Personnel Advisory Committee to have something, if we don't have it today, have it for our employees as well. So just to me, good, I won't say corporate practice, but good municipal governance. Again, my apologies, I didn't make the package because I didn't get it to Courtney. I don't know if you've had a chance to review it.
No, I started, but.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we could table it. if-
Yes.
Yeah, well, all right, we'll table it to the
Next meeting.
agenda.
That'd be great.
Next item is water quality discussion.
So-
Come on up.
I want to thank you for sticking around.
It's quite all right.
So last week, we met with the finance committee to give them an update on the water quality issues. So we want to provide the board with that same information as well. Let's see, we need Jared to help us out again. But I have a few slides that we covered at that meeting. Slowly, it does look like, yeah, it is coming up. So, just to recap, this is what we'll cover real quick. So we know what the problem is. We know what our short-term solutions
If
are.
anyone wants to, please come on up and roll your seat around. Help yourself. That way you can follow along with what we're doing.
It's really exciting.
It's important.
And then part of the long-term solution is the treatment plant and the cleaning and lining of the water mains. So the first few slides I actually stole from a presentation that Ty and Bond did about 2 years ago, so it should be very familiar. I'll be super, super quick on those. We know what the problem is. It's iron and manganese in the water that, when it mixes with the chemicals that we have to use to treat the water, it precipitates and becomes sediment at the bottom of the pipes.
Yep.
That's pretty clear, right?
Very clear.
Okay, so let's picture what it does. Another one of the issues is that we have cast iron pipes, which, when it's open, there's the possibility of tuberculation.
Tubercles.
In the pipe. Yes. So the pipes start looking like that after a while. And obviously that, when you have that, slows down the water, it has areas for that sediment to get stuck into, it makes it more difficult to clean. So what we've been doing so far is flushing. We do that biannually, meaning twice a year. And so there's a fall, summer program, the spring program as well.
We just completed it 1 month ago, the spring program.
That's a mandated program?
It is not mandated. It is highly recommended that municipalities do it once a year, but because of the conditions that we've had, it has been recommended, and we certainly advise doing it 2 times per year.
Then on top of that is the somewhat innovative ice picking method that the town's been using the past 2 falls. So this is, basically you take a slushie and you push it through the pipes to help clean out all the sediment. So again, we'll be doing this fall, and next fall before the treatment plant is completed.
Correct.
So the next step after we take these interim measures is, of course, you have to clean the source water. So that's where the water treatment plant comes in. So it'll take out the iron and manganese. The plant also provides redundancy to the town as well.
Right, and we have just recently received all of the approvals. The state has signed off on the design of the plant, and the engineering firm is finalizing the design. They'll be preparing bid documents.
Excellent.
So included in the packet was the budget for that project. It's $10 million. If you have specific questions about it, Doran maybe will answer those, and we can ask Ty and Bond. So you can ask those later. But after the treatment plant is online, we'll have clean water going through the pipes, but not necessarily clean pipes. So there's a few ways to address that. The recommended method is going with cleaning and lining the pipes. So what you do is they have a machine that goes through, they can clear out all that tuberculation, and then they spray concrete on the pipes to line it so you don't have the open cast iron touching the new clean water. So when we met with Mike from Ty and Bond, he said the price for that is about $200 per linear foot.
Yeah, obviously depending on pipe diameter.
Right, yeah. And then, if you want very rough numbers, $200 per linear foot, we have about 40 miles that would need to be cleaned and lined. It's like $42 million. So currently we are working.
That's just so everyone knows, that's half the price of replacement.
Yeah.
But still, I'm
Correct.
I guess surprised it's $200 a foot.
Yeah.
There is a new technology out there that replaces the cement lining, and it's actually inserting a water quality acceptable impermeable liner inside of the pipe, and that not only provides a barrier between the water and the pipe, but it actually has some structural integrity in there, so the pipes are actually stronger when that process is done. It's a very new process, and we're still in the process of evaluating that.
So right now, we're working with Ty and Bond to update our capital plan. We had Weston and Sampson did one several years ago. I can't remember, but that's what we use to base our array study off of that we did a couple months ago. But we felt like it was time to update that, and one of the best ways to do that is through a hydraulic modeling process. So basically, they can, I'm not sure how they do it. They put dye or something in the water. Yeah.
It's a computer model that they will spot check strategic hydrants around the town, doing a hydrant flow test, seeing where the pressure drops are. With that information, they can then calibrate the model and make it reflective of actual field conditions.
Yeah. So what's helpful about that is, like, you can use that model and say, okay, we're going to clean and line this pipe. If we do that, how does it affect the rest of the town? So not only does it give us a priority list for right now, but it can be updated, so once we have done those projects, we know how it affects the rest, and we can continue to have an accurate list of roads or mains that need to be cleaned and lined.
Correct.
Or at least a priority.
Right. Yeah, so, yeah, right now, we're in the process of determining what improvements need to be made through the hydraulic modeling process. We're gonna prioritize and rank the roads and mains that need to be done. We'll update the capital costs, and we'll provide a rate impact study. Well, this is some samples that they used. I pulled this off the presentation from a couple of years ago, and it had the estimated rate impact of about 10% in 2018, which is what we voted a couple of months ago. So this is foretold. We know this is coming. It's going to continue to affect the ratepayers, but we're going to have a plan that it can smooth it out so it's not excessive in any one year. So that's all I really have. Is there any questions from the board?
Could you just advance one slide then? That,
Back one slide?
no, advance.
Oh, yeah.
So that cost there of running the plant, that's incorporated within the estimates of the increases once that plant comes online?
So it will be when, we'll have to build that into the budget, so into the operating budget for the town. And this includes a price of, it's like $300,000, but that doesn't include lesser operational costs now that we'll be closing other.
Right, there's a reduction in other places.
Right, what this actually is a breakdown of the individual components of the plant multiplied by the anticipated runtime, multiplied by the rate per kilowatt hour to come up with a projected annual operating cost of the facility.
So we'll be closing the other pump station at the beach, and so there will be savings there. And
That's right.
to offset.
During that other process with the plastic,
Yes.
are there anyone in Massachusetts using that?
I do not know that at this time. It's very new. I mean, it's brand new this year.
Yeah.
I do not know at this point of other communities that have done that in the state.
If I
How
may.
long?
May I? Thank you. How long do you think you'd know about that? Because we all know that all concrete at some point will break down, as you know.
It is
And
being
under that
evaluated
pressure-
and closely watched right now by our engineers, and it was them that brought it to our attention just last week. It's a very new process, and we will be evaluating it. It's a bit more expensive than cleaning lining, but it could be better off in the long run with the additional structural integrity.
So
Thank you.
I guess to further on Mr. Miller's question, does that concrete that it's lined with, does it break down? What's the service life of that?
It will break down over time.
You don't want to have chunks of concrete
Well,
instead of chunks of iron. That's not gonna-
That's correct, and I think that's why this other process has come about, because there is a lifespan of the concrete lining. It's only an 1/8 inch thick, and it's great. It has been the technology for many decades, but as everything, technology is changing, new processes are being developed, and this is a new one that's on the horizon that's certainly worth watching.
Thank you.
And this will be made available on the website if we could, so that people could take a look at it?
Yeah, we're trying to put into a user-friendly brochure, so we've been kind of waiting for some more financial information.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just one other question. There was, and I don't know the technical term of it, there was some other technology that had been mentioned on one of the town town resident websites that talked about using sand as filtration. And so the actual water is going to flow. Just remind me of how that filtration system works. It flows through, like my filter at home?
A few slides back, Doug showed a photo of large blue vials or vats, and inside there is a material called green sand. We will add chemicals to pull the iron or manganese out of solution, pass it through the green sand. That will collect it, and clear water will pass out.
So at some point, that has to be removed?
It has to be backwashed, correct.
Backwashed, and then that's drained off and
To
put into
the sewer.
Okay. That's, I guess, similar to how my filter works for the well.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Well, thank you so much, Doran.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is creation of an open space and recreation committee.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we have a grant to update our open space and recreation plan. And actually at the same time, we got a request to have a standing beach committee. So I thought it was probably most appropriate to have a standing open space and recreation committee. So they'll be able to focus on the beach, help us designate improvements, areas we want to improve the facilities down at the beach, and also they can take a holistic approach to recreation in Grafton, in Webster as a whole. So we can look at the different parks around town, so we know that we're not siphoning all the money off to a certain area. Actually, part of the open space and recreation plan will allow us to apply for state grants to improve any park in town, whether it be the beach, the French River Park, or around the Armory. So I think it would be helpful for the plan update to have a committee to see it through the process, and then have the committee stay on after the process to help implement the findings.
About 2 years ago, we voted to have hire on a recreational director part-time to bring activities into town, work on maybe downtown flea markets, festivals.
Yeah.
You're gonna be able to have that sort of a position at some point.
Yeah, so
Someone that's committed to actually doing things in the town.
yeah, so originally I didn't have the funding in the FY18 budget, so I'm hoping that we can change that in the October town meeting and make an adjustment, because the longer I'm here, the more I realize that that's an important position, and that no one can just do that on their own. That we need someone that can focus on that, especially if we want to move forward with putting marina in there. That's a lot of work.
Like
to
car
go
shows,
through
we could do car shows downtown at the beach. There's so much we could do. Well, we need someone who knows what they're doing.
And someone with the time
do this.
dedicated to do it.
To bring in the vendors, to go out and recruit people in other towns and other festivals.
Yeah,
Come to Webster.
Yeah, I'm amazed at how much the highway department can get done at the beach, but if you can imagine someone who that was their only job to do that,
right.
I think we can see a lot of benefit from it.
No, through the chair, I think kudos to the Recreation Committee, what they've done to date. I mean, one of my original thoughts was to have a farmer's market there, only to find out that, that they're going to have a farmer's market here, and the fact that if that grows, what a great place to have it.
Yeah.
But to dedicate resources to that, to me, will, I think, help you and certainly help the highway superintendent.
Yeah, I was surprised how much my time is revolving around recreation activities. And Courtney's time is almost all.
Well, and generating money from the marina will help provide funding for.
And that's gonna change the face of our town, which we need to do.
So do we have a motion to establish an open space and recreation committee?
Yeah, I'd make the motion, and I would suggest maybe 5 members. I wouldn't suggest it to be too big. It's always tough to get people to, but that's just a suggestion.
I'll second.
Third.
Any other discussion? If not, Courtney, you want to poll the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Ford?
Yes.
Selectman Dugannon?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Chairman Childer?
Yes. Right. Next item on the agenda was request to move our July Selectmen's meeting date to July 10th to accommodate year-end transfers.
Yeah, I should have thought of that beforehand before we set it for the next week, but if we could do it on the 10th, that would be helpful.
Not a problem. Next item, July 3rd, 2017, Independence Day holiday.
Yeah, so as you know, the 4th of July is a holiday and it falls on a Tuesday. Actually, Andrew was in the office going over the agenda, and I kind of joked, it's like, oh, there's some offices closing on the 3rd. What do you think about that? And so he suggested we bring it up before the board. So obviously, employees would be happy if we closed early or had some sort of process for that day. Some other communities, they split it. They said, no, we'll close, but you have to use half a vacation day or comp time for them. but then the town let them have that. So I just wanted to open up to the board, see what your thoughts and feelings are. I don't know.
I would ask the other board members who've been here longer, what have we done anything similar?
No.
We worked.
I know I gotta work, yeah.
I'm just,
I mean, a lot of companies give both days, but they have
Yeah.
a floater and they fill that with a floater.
I
I
think
would
we
be,
tried
I'd
it.
be comfortable with a half a day,
I wouldn't do the whole day.
Yeah, at the-
Half a day.
at the risk of making a motion.
how about like a Friday schedule? My kind of,
Half.
Eight
Yeah,
days.
have at 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock, 8 to, so
8 to
8 to 12 on the 3rd.
8:30 to 12, I think is the Friday
All
hours.
right, so 8:30 to 12.
I'm just throwing that out there too.
I think you make a lot of people happy with that.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and second. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Just for
I
this-
still have
just for
to
this
work a
year.
full day.
If it makes you feel better, I'll work a full day too.
Okay.
This will be a year-to-year discussion.
Is that okay with you? 8:30 to 12?
Yeah, 8:30 to 12. Right. If there's no other discussion, Courtney, poll the board.
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Ford?
Yes.
Selectman Zager?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Chairman Childa?
Yes. All right, next item, property tax work-off program.
So in the packet is a pilot program as we try to start this property tax work-off. We've been working with Gene. Gene's been doing a lot of research with other communities to see how their process works. So this is a program we want to try to implement. We're going to try it for 6 months, kind of reassess, see how it worked, see if there's anything that needs to be changed in these guidelines. We just want to make you aware that we are moving forward. We already have some departments that are anxious to get someone to come in and help in the office. So I don't know if there's any specific questions the board has about the policy, or if you want to go over it in detail. One thing that's a little peculiar is we do have to take out Medicare and deferred comp costs from the process. I don't know why, but the IRS requires us to it. So right now we have a $500 limit, so it would be the Medicare and the deferred comp would have to be deducted from that before it got credited to their tax bills.
I would only ask maybe that you look at that, because I'm surprised the W-2 would actually be used rather than the 1099, because they're not employees. And if you use employees, I understand you might have to deal with part-time.
Yeah.
But this may have been dealt with, but it's surprising to me that it wouldn't be independent contractor as opposed to an employee.
Yeah, so we actually had the exact same problem or issue previously, and it had to be W-2 and it had to be deducted.
Just give it a shot. See how it
Yeah.
works.
I like it.
And
So this could, someone could be offer or to work at the beach, let's say after Labor Day.
Right, and then we could have someone
We could have
on the
hours
weekends or
when our college workers go off to college.
Through the chair, that's my sentiment exactly, because for years, the last several years, now, it was always Memorial Day till Labor Day. And sometime it's a week or two before Memorial Day, but then the students go back to work and the place is open until gosh only knows when. I'd even extend the time, if it's possible, through the month of September, because you get some good weather in September.
Yeah, at least for the weekends,
If,
yeah, I think.
if we can get folks that go there almost daily, it's a good incentive. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's lots of opportunities for people to do work.
So,
Thank you.
moving on, we have approval of budget transfers, cameras, and demolition of East Main Street property.
Yeah, so in the packet, I included a list of what I foresee as being budget transfers that we'll cover at our next meeting. But there's a couple that I want to do immediately. One was for $40,000 from the town administrator's executive secretary salary to the inspectional services nuisance property line for the demolition of the structure at 34 East Main. As you know, yeah, that was the building that had the fire. Obviously, we didn't budget for that, so we need to tear the building down. We're gonna do everything we can to put a lien on the property and to go after the bank or the insurance company.
I was gonna ask, is the bank still involved with that whole?
Yeah, so actually, it's in the process of being foreclosed on. It'll probably end up being town-owned in a matter of weeks. So to be honest, the possibility of us recuperating the funds to demo it are small, but it needs to come down to the
Yeah,
way it is.
definitely has.
But we would be able to recoup some of that by sale of the
Yes,
land.
yeah. So, and when we sell the property, we can put a minimum, and say, we have to get the $40,000 back.
I mean, there is a business next door, maybe they'd be interested, or.
Yeah, and we've been in contact with the adjacent property owners. The other item, actually, I'm gonna ask that we hold off on the security camera. Just wanna make sure we have sufficient funding, so we'll cover that in the July meeting. Can I have a motion now? Also, the finance committee approved those funds for the structure demolition at 34 East Main. So,
I make a motion to approve the 40,000 requested to tear down 34 East Main.
Second.
Motion and second, any other discussion? If not, Courtney, will you pull the board?
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Ford?
Yes.
Selectman Duguevich?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Chairman Schultz?
Yes. Next item, we have the top 5 Board of Selectmen policies and procedures that we were looking at reviewing at a future Selectmen's meeting. So,
yeah, these are the top 5, so if everyone's good with this, we'll review those in the July meeting.
any informational mail?
Yes, so there's a letter from KP Law at the request of actually our auditors, just asking if there were any pending litigation or claims against the town, which there are not, in excess of $30,000.
That's the standard audit letter.
Yeah.
Attorney request.
And the next is a letter from the Massachusetts Bay Constables Association requesting that we oppose House Bill 2252, changes the regulations of constables kind of dramatically, almost makes them non-existent. So I have the copy of the legislation if anyone's interested in it. And then we have a notification from an attorney that United Medical Waste has taken civil action against the Board of Health in regards to the siting of their facility in town. And
Through the chair, can you describe, I mean, it's got to be public as far as what the suit is over. Is this lack of action? Is this?
Right.
Because it's a 1-to-1 vote.
Right, so it is, yes, lack of action. Just speaking with our attorney, he says he feels like the most likely course of remediation is that the attorney, the court will take this and kick it back down to the Board of Health and say, you have to revote on it and you come up with a decision.
Isn't it pretty standard not to tell the Board of Health what to do, but didn't the DEP approve this? And do
Yes,
they
they did.
then have the right to go to the DEP and override our?
Yeah, so that's the other option, but typically the DEP doesn't want to override local authority, so they.
Unless they don't vote the way they want them to vote, then they'll do it.
Last of all, we have a letter from the Lottery Commission stating that the building at, what is the address?
152 Gore Road.
Yeah, 152 Gore Road. They'll be getting a Keno monitor you can put in the window. If we're opposed to that, we need to tell them in writing.
Is this next to the lodge?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that the board is not opposed to that, so we'll take action.
There are no other items or any other discussion? I'll
Make a
entertain
motion to adjourn.
Any discussion? If not, Courtney, poll the board.
Selectman Miller?
Yes.
Selectman Ford?
Yes.
Selectman Duguevich?
Yes.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Chairman Schultz?
Yes.
Good meeting you.
Well,